You're listening to Off to Market with Scott Farley and Hamish Chadwick.
Hi, I'm Hamish.
And I'm Scott.
And this week, Scott is going to be talking about how smart product design can save your business. So Scott, tell us about how you can save people money with better design.
No worries. It sounds a little bit over the top, but something that some people aren't aware of, and you should be, is that sometimes a product solution can be too clumsy. So you've seen a problem in the market, you've designed the first thing that comes into your head and you've put it on the market, and it might be a little bit clumsy in the way it's designed, or it might have too many components, or it might be hard to manufacture, hard to ship. It just might be a really costly way of solving the problem. So one of the hardest things to do in my job, and it's a little bit frustrating too, because if you can make a solution very simple, you do all this work, it actually takes a lot more work to make something really simple and refined than it does just to throw technology at it. Like if I just wanted to make something really quickly and turn it around fast, I'd just throw components at it and all of a sudden it would do everything it wants to do. If I want to make a smart development, I try and initially I might come up with the one that's clumsy, and then I'll work my way back and I'll just take components out of it. I'll do it in the most simple way it possibly can be done, still satisfying the requirements, the functional requirements, and the user experience. Some things do have to be made complex because the user that industry might just require it. Some medical products just need to look and feel and be complex. But generally, with a consumer product, people only want to pay the minimum and get the result they want. And so what can happen is if you do a clumsy solution, you can end up going to market and your competitor might go, wow, that's a great idea, nice problem solved, but I can do it a different way, in a much simpler way. And that can be deadly. You've gone in there, you've done all your marketing, you've spent all the money possible, you've got the product on the market, and old mate comes along and goes, yep, I can do that, I'm a smart guy, I've got good engineering knowledge. I'm going to do that same product in a much simpler way and go to market, and I'm going to come in the same market right beside the first product, and I'm going to be half the price. No one in their right mind is going to go and look at two products that solve the same solution and buy your product anymore. They're going to buy the second one, and all of a sudden overnight, you might have some loyal customers that stick with you, but overnight you've lost 80% of your market, and that can be crippling for a company. You can actually lose your business over it, and lots of times you see it. First person to market doesn't get the bickies because the second person to market has learned off all your mistakes and come in with a better result. And sometimes, quite often actually, the second person to market can quote your first patent and say, here's the prior art and we were improved on it in this way, and they can get their own patent for that same solution. Or they might do it in a completely different way functionally, and they solve it cheaper and more efficiently, and have a standalone patent on their own and just totally cut you out of the market. So you've spent all the money and you've got no result. It's really, really deadly. So I can't emphasize enough the need to really, really, really simplify your products. Do just what you need to do, and it's not necessarily just the amount of components. Don't make complicated products. There's two ways of making components. Some can be really complicated. The more you complicate the tool, with sliding cores and pieces that have to move inside the tool, one, you set up maintenance issues halfway through a project or a production run. One of those little lifters, which are quite delicate, get jammed or break or catch and break off. You've got 10 weeks of refinement or fixing on that tool, and your production runs out, and you might be, have customers looking for product with no solution. So you really got to be smart in the way you design things. Always make things simple. More complicated doesn't necessarily mean it's had less thought. Actually, more often than not, the less complicated it is, the more sophisticated, the more streamlined it is, means the more the designers put the thought into the project.
Yeah, I'd like to go back a step, because we don't want to frighten people off. I mean, we work with a lot of people where the product they're designing or you're designing is their first time to market, but what you've just said before could ring alarm bells to say, well, hey, great, you put all that work in because what you're doing is benefiting the next person who wants to improve on your product. But what we need to reinforce is, no, you keep that in mind in the first instance, to say that you can actually combat the second person coming in, knock them out of the market before they even think about improving your product, simply by taking into by taking into consideration and working hard on simplifying your first product to market.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep,
That's what
exactly
you're saying?
You just have to have the most refined product. And I'm not saying it won't improve over time, because once you put something new on the market, you'll get market feedback and you can adapt it, but it won't be a major shift. You'll just have, like, for example, the sinkers. We have a sinker range, which is a snap-on sinker. One of the biggest fishing companies in the world got around our patent by doing it a different way. Unfortunately, they were so focused on getting around our patent that they actually made it more complicated. So they hit the market and no one wanted it. They missed the market need. So first and foremost, it has to be what the market needs. It has to be, functionally correct, the great user experience, and it has to also, along with that, be as simple as it possibly can be to get that result. And that's a good way of keeping your competitors out of the market, because they come along and if they can do the same thing but more expensively, in a more expensive fashion, they're in the same predicament where they go to market and they put the product on the market which gets around your patent, but the users might not like it, or it might be more expensive, and then you've got the competitive advantage.
Okay, right. So simplification is difficult, but it's not impossible.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's very crucial.
Great. Thanks, Scott. That was hugely informative.
You've been listening to Off to Market with Scott Farley and Hamish Chadwick.